So the other day, a journalist emailed me with some questions about tax debt. Here are her questions right here on the screen. I'm going to go over them later in this video. But I Googled this individual, Zina Kumak, just to see if she's legit. And she looks really legit, right? She's written for all these, Market Watch and Forbes and all these other places. So I was like, yeah, I'll answer your questions about tax debt. But what really struck me here is how this individual who knows a lot about a lot of things finance related, she writes for all these big financial publications. She was asking some very basic questions about tax debt, and this is not to say anything bad about her. I think because most CPAs, most tax professionals, they don't even know the answers to these questions that I'm going to go over here in a bit. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to create a video just going over the basics here, right? What does this professional financial journalist want to know about tax debt? Because sometimes looking at my library of content I've created on this YouTube channel, I know I can sometimes get very granular about things like why'd you get this notice and how do you respond to it and how to qualify for a PPIA and what's CNC and how to get in hardship, very specific things when, okay, maybe once in a while just gotta, when the opportunity presents itself, just answer some very basic questions that, everyday people would wonder about, what is tax debt. So I'm going to go over her questions here and basically answer them right here in this video. Right. So her first question here, what does tax debt refer to? Does it mean if you have an unpaid tax bill after April 15th or something more specific? So strictly speaking, tax debt refers to an unpaid assessment of tax that is past due, right? And it's not just income tax with the IRS. It could be property tax or other kinds of taxes, right? Or sales tax, right? If you're a seller and you're subject to sales tax and you don't remit that sales tax to the government. But in the context she's asking about, it's clear she's asking about income tax. So what is tax debt, right? And when it comes to income tax, and her question here, it's right. For most folks, IRS income tax debt means that they have an unpaid tax bill after the April 15th due date when that tax is due. But then, I was telling her over the phone, yes, that's the legal definition of tax debt, right? When there's that assessment of tax on the government's books. But, that doesn't include situations like, well, what if you don't make your estimated tax payments during the year? You're kind of accruing this invisible kind of phantom tax debt while that's going on, right? What if you don't file your tax return at all for the year, right? There is no assessment made. In situations like that, there's obviously a sense in which tax debt exists, right? It just hasn't been assessed yet by the government, and so it can't take collection activity against it, okay? But, as I mentioned over and over here on this channel, the IRS does have remedies for those situations. For example, if you don't file your tax return, thinking, well, if I don't file a return, they can't come after me. The IRS can file what's called a substitute for return, or an SFR, to calculate your tax liability for the year for you if you don't file a return, and they can make an assessment based on that and take forced collection activity based on that. But in general, I think her kind of question here is leading to some, it's on the right track, right? It's tax debt is an unpaid tax bill after the due date, right? Her next question: can you settle a tax bill for less than you owe? Can you negotiate with the IRS to get a lower bill or to lower the interest or fees? And obviously, if you watch my channel at all, you know that yes, it is possible to settle your tax debt for less than you owe through the offer in compromise program. And I emailed her back some technical stuff about offers in compromise, 3 different kinds of offers in compromise at a high level, how to qualify. And then I spoke with her over the phone, and she asked, can anybody basically kind of qualify for this? And what if you have enough money to pay the tax debt, right? And that was a great question, and I told her no. If you have liquid assets to pay your tax debt, right? Let's say you owe $50,000 to the IRS and you have $100 grand in the bank, right? Cash. then no, the IRS isn't going to accept settlement. They're going to say, pay us the 50 grand out of the cash you have. And they don't care if you're saving for a down payment on a home or anything or something like that, right? And I did tell her sometimes there's exceptions, right? Like, let's say you're an older person, you have this money in an IRA, but you're going to need it to live off of the rest of your life because we can show that your monthly living expenses, there's a shortfall between what you're getting from Social Security and your necessary monthly living expenses, and you're probably going to live this long, right? Based on life expectancy tables. You're going to need that, whatever's in that IRA for the rest of your life. Sometimes there are arguments to be made like that, right? But those are fairly far and few between. Okay, so while yes, the IRS does daily agree to settlements through the offer and compromise program, if you have sufficient assets, especially liquid assets, to pay your tax bill, they probably will not accept one. All right. We'll ask her last question here. What's the difference between owing a lot of taxes and being accused of tax evasion? Well, tax evasion generally involves some kind of fraudulent activity, right? Such as knowingly and willfully, cheating on your tax return, right? Not reporting income or overstating deductions, right? That you knew to be personal. Mischaracterizing transactions to avoid tax, right? Hiding assets to avoid paying your tax bill and stuff like that, right? It's generally something fraudulent, right? On the other hand, simply, in her words, owing a lot of taxes, that's different, okay? While it is technically a misdemeanor, right, in the federal tax code, to not pay taxes when they're due, that is different than tax evasion. Okay, most folks we talk to, vast majority of folks we talk to at Choice Tax Relief are good people. They just got behind for whatever reason on their taxes, right? It could have been at more extreme situations. We had one guy who was literally in a coma, right, for several months. And that just kind of created this snowball of, just getting behind on things, right? And taxes were just one of those things he got behind on. Or we had someone reach out the other day. There was a fire that destroyed their records and things in their business and things like this. So those are more extreme situations. But often it's just day-to-day life. I mean, life is hard, right? Like, there's just sometimes not enough time, or especially if your situation is complex, you have a small business, you're 1099, something like that. You don't, know how to add up all your expenses, or, you just missed a deadline one year, right? And then life gets busy. Next year rolls around. Oh, you missed that deadline too. And then, before you know, you haven't filed like 4 or 5 years, or maybe you filed, but you just weren't, able to pay the taxes because you hadn't set it aside throughout the year. I mean, we've heard it all. Right? But there's a difference between those situations where the person's trying to do their best, right? Unfortunately, though, even though they were trying their best, they were not able to remain or in tax compliance. There's a vast difference between that and the person who is, knowingly, willfully, and fraudulently, cooking their books, right? Keeping 2 sets of books, or, hiding assets or stuff like that. So anyway, these were great questions from this journalist. I don't even know what publication that my comments are going to be in. I don't think I asked her that over the phone. But I'll be sure to let you all know on the YouTube channel and in the community page or whatever that is when my comments get posted, which will hopefully be soon. Anyway, folks, thanks so much for watching this video. I know this is probably pretty basic for a lot of you who watch a lot of my tax stuff, but thought it'd be good to get back to basics once in a while. I have some other tax relief videos here on the left-hand side of the screen. Of course, you can reach out to us at Choice Tax Relief, choicetaxrelief.com. Fill out the form there. We'll reach out to you, or give us a call at 866-8000-TAX to schedule a free consultation. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.